Hey everyone, Dr. Frunkey here with a great knife consult video for you. So this is a knife from Tashi Bharucha and Jerry McGinnis. This is the Rowdy HiTech from McGinnis Knives. Now, Jerry McGinnis is known as a custom maker, and he makes some really cool custom knives. I haven't gotten one yet. Some of them are not really to my style, and they're very expensive, so you better really like what you're buying at that price point. But I know that he makes a very, very smooth and high-quality product, just very incredible quality and fit and finish in those customs that he's making. Amazing knives. But he has a mid-tech company in North Carolina called McGinnis Knives, and they teamed up with Tashi to come up with this design here. Now this design has been out for a couple of years now, I think, maybe over a year. Epic Snuggle Bunny had a great review on these knives, and I think that this is a really awesome offering that may get overlooked sometime because it's not really from one of the major manufacturers out there, and so some people might overlook this option, and it's worth looking at for sure. So what I have in front of me is actually two different variants of this knife, thanks to two very generous viewers. So Walt C94 noticed that I had a really an affinity for Tashi design in my Riot Future video, and he reached out to me and sent me a couple of knives. He sent me this Tashi. He actually sent me, I'll pull this one out here, a full custom Tashi Alien. You saw this maybe in an earlier video, a discussion video I made. He also sent me a Ferrum Forge Knife Works Stinger in SM100. That's a really cool knife. I'm also going to pull it out of its case right here. Neat little knife in a very interesting blade alloy there, SM100. So video still pending on both of those knives. They are very, very cool. I really appreciate his generosity in sharing some of his collection with me. This one comes to me by way of a guy named T-Pain10. These are both people on Instagram, by the way. It's a great knife community out there, and I really appreciate the way people reach out and they're willing to help me with this. So two different guys sent me these knives so that I could compare them side by side, and I'm very, very thankful to them. And let's go ahead and start off, and we can do a quick overview. We've got an overall length of 8.1 inches. We've got a 3.5-inch blade and a 4.6 inch handle right here. So a nice EDC size, very compact for carrying a 3.5-inch blade. Tashi is very good about using the entire handle to fit the entire blade in there, no wasted space. I don't know if you noticed that, but when I close the knife, look how ridiculously smooth this is. Really, really, really smooth on both of these knives. What I've noticed is that the action on both is identical, and that is a very good thing because that means the action will be the same on any one of these that you pick up, and it is ridiculously smooth, and we'll get into that a little bit later too. We'll go ahead and break this knife down anatomically as we always do. We'll go in order here. We've got a 3.5-inch blade of CPM 154 steel, which is a very nice steel. As a matter of fact, I've got it on my very own Peter Rizzenti Satori. You may have caught the unboxing on this, but CPM 154 was designed for jet engine turbines to be a very high quality steel, and it certainly is. It holds an edge well, it takes an edge well, it takes a nice mirror edge if you're able to achieve that. Both of these knives I've sharpened and achieved a nice edge just with my simple Spyderco Sharp Maker. It's a very sharp edge, and it's stayed that way for a while now. The blade finish is a nice stonewash. Fairly simple on this model in particular. The whole thing is that kind of gray stonewash that was so popular for a while. I don't know that that's really my favorite overall look, but it is a very, very good looking knife. The stonewash is uniform from the blade to the handle. I like that. Of course, Tashi throws his gigantic logo on the front of this. To be honest, I'm not a fan of this on the presentation side. I don't mind you having the logo on the back, but I think the presentation side should be the presentation side, nice and clean, so you can look at it and then flip it around. And on the lock side, I like to see the logo and everything. I think some people do that better than others. This is a little bit bold for me. It's a cool logo. I don't argue that. It could be worse, but it should have gone on the back, and it should have been smaller. Let's be real. So moving back, this thing does ride on ball bearings. If you watched the knife surgery video that I did on these knives, you'll see that it's a metal encased metal stainless steel ball bearings and a stainless steel like sort of pivot collar. They're trapped bearings in a washer there, and it's really nice, and it's really smooth. It's a lot like the ZT0392 series. This one has the same kind of a thing. GTC bearings are the same on the Resenti. Just very high quality ball bearing system going on in here. Super smooth. It is a flipper deployment only. This is where I really want to discuss the greatest part of this knife, and that is the action. In no knife ever, from the most high-end custom that you can imagine to, you know, I've had a Shirogorov, I've had Riots, I've had so many knives with ball bearings. Now, my experience with customs is a little bit less extensive. Now, I have a lot of smooth knives. This is a smooth knife. It's very smooth. It doesn't get stuck anywhere along the track. It will drop down if you do it forcefully enough. Okay, here we go. We got a Riot knife. We got a Bodega here. Super smooth. But look, it stays there. You can shake it into place. Super smooth. Don't get me wrong. Ultra smooth. But it does nothing that I have ever experienced. Even my favorite knives right here, the 0392s, nothing has this action. Let's pull out some knives just for comparison. We're just going to look at some actions here. Oh, this is the WE Knife Zeta. Smooth, but that's not dropping shut like that. If you've noticed a pattern here, I need you to look at the action now on this knife, okay? If I just hold it, all I have to do is unlock the lock bar, turn it up, and it falls shut. It's amazing. It's super smooth. Maybe the only knife I've ever experienced like that was the 045, what was it? The 0452, the bigger knife from ZT, the long one, the Sinkovich design. That one was a drop shut like this, but this is even smoother than that. It's almost like two pieces of buttered glass, two pieces of oiled glass sliding next to each other. The feeling that you get from this is very much like that to me. It's super smooth, absolutely incredible action going on here. Comparable only to the Peter Resentis that I've had in the past. That Nirvana that I had was unbelievably smooth. The Satori is getting there. It's still new. It still drops like that. But this is the only knife I've ever experienced that is like that as well. So super smooth action and super impressive on that. And I just can't, you know, proclaim enough how really nice that is. You have to experience it to really understand. It's got an internal stop pin, nice clean design going on there, very well designed. The flipper tab is rounded off and not uncomfortable. There's a little bit of jimping on there that doesn't provide a whole lot of traction, but you don't need it because the geometry is excellent. It will fire every time. It's got a great detent. Super nice. One thing I did notice is that the pivot likes to work itself a little bit loose. This came with really no Loctite in it, which is fine, and it's something that I've learned to appreciate, actually. Some makers have discussed with me why they do that, and it's really to allow the end user to sort of tighten up or loosen up their pivot as they see fit and kind of lock it in on their own. They assume that the end user is going to be knife savvy and be able to manage their knives in that way. So I get that, and I have blue Loctite. If this were my knife, I would tune it to exactly where I would want it to be, and I would, you know, Loctite it right there. Super great of them to do that. Although it can get annoying if you flick this maybe 20 or 30 times, it's going to eventually come off center. I recently tightened these up for the video, and the action is awesome on them. I've noticed also you can really tighten down on the pivot, and it never gets so tight that the action is rough or the action is grippy. So I do appreciate that. Moving back to the handles here, we have two slabs of 6AL4V titanium. Super nice. I do appreciate that. The one thing that's cool about this knife, and something that I appreciate, are the different designs that are coming through. There are at least 3 or 4 different designs, and they're all really nice. In front of you are just two of those variants. So we've got the one with the 4 speed divots. There's one that has 4 speed holes. This one kind of has a big hole in the middle with some waves coming out from it. There's one with, again, a Tashi Bharucha logo that's sort of engraved, deeply cut into it, like one of these. I wouldn't imagine wanting one of those with the logos like that, maybe if you're a huge Tashi fan or just Tashi yourself. And then there were a couple of other ones that were also really cool. There was like a diamond pattern, not dissimilar to this. That was one of them. So really, really nice that they offer those different finishes, and they're all functional and great. I think I really like this one. I'd probably like the one with the totally milled out speed holes, just because it would lighten the knife up a bit. This is a bit of a heavy knife. Let's go ahead and bust out the scale and see what we're working with here. Now each one will vary a little bit depending on which one you've picked up, so the lighting here is probably not going to pick up on the camera. This one is reading at 5.20 ounces. This one is reading at 5.09 ounces, so quite a bit of weight taken off by the milling on that. I just want to confirm here, 5.21 ounces. So yeah. Each one will weigh somewhere in that ballpark, depending on which model you get and how much titanium is taken out of the handle. It is a frame lock with no steel lock bar insert, which is totally fine. If you carbonize the lock, it's going to work just fine. It's something that I have noticed, though, on this knife in particular. Now, Walt admitted to me that he uses that knife as his daily carry, and he's dropped it more than his fair share of times, and the lockup will sometimes travel all the way across. Now, after I disassembled the knife and put it back together, I have not actually had that problem again. I think maybe it got kind of knocked out of alignment, and so the lock bar wasn't locking up. But if you see right there, the lockup on both of these knives is fairly consistent. This one on the right side has been used a little bit more, so I do think it's a little bit farther in, but it has seated itself really well. Now that it's all aligned again, it actually hasn't kicked back over. So you're welcome, my friend. It's fixed now, but it's really, really, really nice. There has never been a hint of lockstick on either of these knives. The way that it disengages is as smooth as any knife I've ever experienced. Again, it feels somehow like two pieces of glass sliding next to each other. It's intense. On the back, they have different colored back spacers, so definitely pay attention to that if you're going to buy this knife. They are all in G10. This is a black one. They have a orange G10 as well. I don't think they had a blue one. I think it was orange and black. So pay attention if you're going to buy that, if you don't want to end up with a bright orange back spacer. I don't mind these black ones, but I'm not a huge fan of G10. I would have personally preferred a couple of titanium back spacers or little pillars or something. That would have looked really nice on this and made it easier to clean, in my opinion. This just adds a piece of plastic onto the knife, in my opinion. An otherwise all metal knife that I think it just doesn't really go with the overall design. That's just my opinion, though. So it works just fine, though. If you like G10, that's what it is. These are really, really, really nice knives. So how do they EDC? Well, the pocket clip is proprietary, so you're not going to get any real custom stuff going on here, but it rides about like that. It's not the lowest riding knife ever. Now, I wear mine on the waistband. I wear scrubs every day, and it's the easiest place to put a knife. And so when I do that, I usually wear it sort of in the front on my waist, and I'm not going to lie, guys, residency sometimes puts a few extra pounds on you, and my tummy sometimes pokes into this tip or my, love handles or something, and so it's a little bit uncomfortable sometimes if you're wearing it like that, but if you're wearing it in jeans, it's absolutely ideal. If you're wearing it in pants, it's got the grip. Something I really appreciate about the Hinderer style clips or that the screws are there to grab onto. It provides for you an excellent pull-out point. You've got some traction over here with the screw and the lanyard hole going on there. By the way, there is a lanyard hole. And so it's a great, great clip. I love a simple spring clip. It functions perfectly. There's just the right amount of grip. This thing, the actual gripping point is not really near any points of snag. I've never experienced it pulling on the lock bar cutout right here at all. So very nicely designed and well thought out right there. I love a functional spring clip. Now, These are a little bit heavy for their size, but I don't mind it. Again, I'm a fan of a knife anywhere from about the 4 to 6 ounce range. I don't really mind that, so I am a big fan. If you want to play with this knife all day, you totally can. You can flip it all day, and it is super comfortable. The flipper tab will never get sharp. The lock bar, even though it is a little bit cut out, it does have the cutouts in there. It is not painful on the fingers. It does not hurt at all. So you can really play with this knife all day long and never really hurt your hand or get tired of it. And it is so smooth that you'll have so much fun. Honestly, like this has some of the best action I've ever seen. That same smoothness is present on the opening as well. Just a very, very smooth opening and a perfectly tuned detent. I really, really like that. You can see the backside on this one and the patterning on the titanium scale there. The blade is so nice looking on this side. I really wish on the presentation side they had done that. Definitely wish that had happened. But a very smooth, very nice, very high quality knife. Very good materials, very good fit and finish, and incredible action. Now, we're going to come to my least favorite part of this knife, and that is the price. This knife is $575. Now, I understand why a knife is expensive, okay? Titanium scales, expensive. Ball bearings, expensive. Nice steel, CPM 154, expensive. I totally understand, but $575 in today's market is very high, and it's important to consider some of the other options that are out there. I'm going to pull this knife out right away. I've got a video that's going to come up on this knife pretty soon. This is the We Knives 702. This is an integral handled knife from We Knives with an M390 blade, ball bearings, and an incredible action, and this came in around $300. $400, maybe something like that, $400, $300, somewhere in that price range. But significantly less, maybe close to half the price. $575 for that. And this knife is out there, milled and everything, integral handle. So many knives. This knife, Riyadh Knives, Bodega, Mid-Tech, $460. Of course, I'm going to bring out the ZT0392s, $400 to $450. Very, very similar. I can bring out this knife, the Mid-Tech, sort of production Mid-Tech of the Borka. This one is around $360 to $400. Super, super smooth. And I can go on and on and on. So many options in this sort of $200 to $500 range that putting this at $575, I think, made this not the most popular knife. It's just too expensive for what you're getting. It is a very, very well-made knife. Do not get me wrong. And the design is beautiful. I love the people behind it, but really you're paying for those names rather than the knife itself. This knife, honestly, if you talk about the blade itself, it's a very high flat grind, but it's really not the best slicer because it's rather thick stock. And the top up here is full thickness, and you know, it will do your EDC tasks really well. It's very strong. But it's not really the ideal food prep knife, even though Tashi's design really lends to that with the blade laying low like that. It's very thick, and it slices okay. I had to put an edge on both of these knives, which makes me think that maybe they didn't come ultra sharp from the factory either. So why don't you guys tell me about that? I noticed the blade will come off center, and the blades were not particularly sharp when I got either of these. Now, these were used, but not that hard, so I can't imagine that the blades were dulled all that much by their first users here. But I really appreciate the generosity of the community in sending me these knives. Walt C. and T-Pain, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate that. These are spectacular knives, okay? I think the price point is a bit too high for me. If you love this design and you have to have it, get it. But I'll tell you right now, go look up the Fox Phoenix. For around $350, you can get an M390 version of this with even more intricate detailing. I am super tempted to pick one of those up. I think they're on GP Knives right now. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching my video here on the Rowdy HiTech by Tashi Bharucha and McGinnis Knives. This is a great knife with the most amazing action, but maybe a little bit too expensive. Thank you. Go check out some pictures that I've had on this on Instagram. And as always, guys, Take care.